Welcome to Armchair Expert, Experts on Expert. I'm Dan Shepard. I'm joined by Monica Mouse.
Hi.
Hi, you're in a hurry.
Well, I'm going to the gynecologist. I'm not going to get makeup.
Yeah, and it's we're running out of time. Yeah, and you don't want to keep this man or female waiting? We don't know.
A female.
Oh, okay. That's neither here nor there. Today we have Susan Magsamen and Ivy Ross, neither of which
are my gynecologists.
Okay, great. Susan is the director of the International Arts and Mind Lab at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, and Ivy Ross is the vice president of hardware design at Google. They make a very fun pair, and they've got a great book called Your Brain on Art, How the Arts Transform Us. I have found myself reporting info they gave to us throughout the real world.
Fun conversation and has made us both want to take up pottery.
Yes, it has, which we'll soon learn is one of the best uses of your left and right brain.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Please enjoy Susan and Ivy.
He's an armchair expert.
Dax, great to meet you. Welcome.
Ivy.
Ivy, Dax, great to meet you. Rob!
Your cream top.
Oh my God, you sweet boy.
Oh, you got a fancy one.
Yeah, look at that. Do you think I deserve it? I don't.
I'm not sure yet. I'll let you know.
TBD.
Are you gals visiting?
San Francisco.
From San Francisco?
I used to live here, though, for many years, in Manhattan Beach and then Santa Monica.
Where in Santa Monica?
On 10th and Washington, right off Montana.
I lived at Euclid and Broadway for 10 years.
So are you bored over here now?
No. In fact,
There's some 7-Elevens that provide some action for me.
That's true. I lived there for 10 years in Santa Monica, moved like 1,000 feet that way into a different house, and was immediately like, oh my God, I lived in a great city and didn't even know it. There's lots of food and art and lively, youthful, creative people wandering around, and in Santa Monica, I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Very homogenized LA.
It is. Well, I grew up in the Bronx in New York, so I'm much more used to that cool grit.
Action, activity, fervor. Yeah, I like it. I'm from Detroit, so.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I had no business in Santa Monica.
So I'm from Baltimore. I know grit.
Yes,
Baltimore's
famed
very
Wire.
Gritty. The Wire, but it's a really art-based community. It's really a wonderful place.
And so you both live?
I live in San Francisco, Mill Valley.
Is Mill Valley just on the other side of the
Bridge?
Yeah.
It goes Sausalito, Mill
Yes.
Valley. It's Marin County.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever saw Parenthood, that TV show.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
So we shot the pilot in Mill Valley
really?
at a house.
Uh-huh.
The house was ultimately rebuilt here. But it was this house in Mill Valley, this kind of older house, and it had like 8 redwoods in the backyard. Impossibly beautiful redwoods.
That sounds like Mill Valley.
Yeah, and I just thought, wow, you can own a house that has these trees in the yard? It seems impossible.
Yeah. Although the problem is at Sea Ranch, I have another house and the tree just fell on the house, the redwood.
A redwood fell on the house.
Oh my God, ripped through the balcony, the roof. It's a good thing no one was in there.
Yeah.
So those redwood trees, and it fell up. It was weird. It was down.
Oh, I gotcha.
It fell up.
Right.
It's like, come on. It had to do
weird.
with the way the wind was blowing. So, but yeah, redwoods are pretty powerful.
That's intense.
Yeah, and then you're like Muir Woods is in your backyard.
Yeah.
Do you ever bump into, here we go, I got his name, hold on.
Mickey Hart.
Lead singer of Metallica.
Oh.
He lives like in Muir Woods somehow, or his property is budding up to
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah. You ever see like a grimy guy in hot rods driving around? You think,
Yeah,
how's
all
that
the
guy?
time.
Yeah. Is that's probably a thing up there?
Mickey Hart's there. Bonnie Raitt's there.
Oh.
It's a really beautiful artist community.
Cultural creatives.
Yeah.
That's who
Cool.
lives there.
Cultural creatives.
Was that the name of
James Hatfield. That's his name. What?
the name of your middle school?
Oh, Muir was the name of my middle
Right.
school, but after Margaret E. Muir, not
John
Muir.
Muir.
Thank you. Margaret E. Muir. Who's that?
I was going to ask you that.
That's a good question.
It wasn't his wife or anything, right?
Oh boy!
Oh my God,
I
you
feel like
made-
there is a
you-
Margaret.
you just made that
E.
person
Muir,
up.
But maybe
How
I've
cool.
imagined that. She's a naturalist.
A writer, adventurer.
But not related to John Muir?
Maybe
Wow,
it's
they should get
Mrs.
together.
John Muir.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
They would have had the environment in common.
Or the daughter of, right?
Oh.
That could be.
We're solving this. We're figuring this out together as a team. So, ladies, welcome. We rarely have 2 guests on a time. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself just so people will know your name and link it.
So I'm Susan Magsamen, and I'm the director of the International Arts and Mind Lab at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine.
Okay.
Very
And your
impressive.
husband's a neurologist there? Or
Neuroscientist.
Neuroscientist
Yes.
at Johns Hopkins.
Yep.
Okay, great. The fun thing to get into right now. Are you annoyed with the title Johns Hopkins as I am? It seems like either a possessive of Hopkins or plural Johns. Why is it fucking Johns Hopkins?
It is the bane of my existence.
You dislike it as well.
Yeah, and it's really hard to spell, and people mess it up all the time, and then they say John Hopkins, and then you have to say, hey, no, it's Johns Hopkins. Yeah,
And why is it John's?
Yeah.
that was his name,
His name was John's.
Was John's.
Hopkins.
The
Yeah.
Hopkins is fine. We can live with
Yeah.
that. We've got Anthony Hopkins. We've got some famous Hopkins.
But the
But
S on John
John's-
is interesting.
John's Stamos?
You know, they wanted him to be unique, and he was.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
lived up
He
to
lived
it.
up.
Do we know historically if John's was a common name back then?
This is a really interesting sociological question. I don't know. I feel like it's not.
I've
you
never
know?
heard it
I've
other
never
than-
heard it.
no.
I've never heard it.
Okay, and then Ivy, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ivy Ross, currently the vice president of Google hardware design, but more importantly, a child of wonder.
Oh, wow.
Oh, good. I'm
These
glad
are
you
some
made that distinction.
impressive
Titles?
people. Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard
yes.
of both Google and Johns Hopkins.
That's right. Same.
Yes.
I know both.
How long have you been at Google?
It'll be 9 years in May.
And where did you come from prior to that?
I was always a designer of consumer goods.
Okay.
So I was head of design for girls' toys at Mattel
Oh,
here in
Wonderful.
LA.
wow. Cool.
I was Barbie's mom for a while.
Oh, wonderful. Any hot products from the Barbie catalog you can tell me you were behind?
Oh my God, it was 8 years worth. All the hot
Wow.
ones.
Okay.
I redid her body to be a slightly more contemporary shape.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah. Still anatomically, right? If we blow it up, it's still a little wonky.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
more reflective than it was.
Yeah, her waist.
Her boobs got smaller, her waist got...
You got it. Her waist got more oval as opposed to round.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And an interesting fun fact is I tried to make her feet go flat so she could wear sneakers, but you can't do that. That's her identity. That
The
pitched
high heel.
You found the breaking point of the signature.
what you couldn't do.
Yeah. I imagine you were monkeying with stuff and it was like, this works, this works. Oh, something is fundamentally now wrong about her.
Yep, you
And then
got
the
it.
feet was it.
Yeah. And I was head of design for Coach handbags and Calvin Klein men's accessories. So always consumer goods, but a variety of products because I have to love the product, but it's also more the method of creating.
Meaning you only use a certain method. So if the product can fall within that method.
No, I just mean I love creating, co-creating with others, having a vision and manifesting it
Yes,
together
having a product.
at the end of it.
Yeah.
So that product can be a variety of things like it has been throughout my career. It's that co-creation process. Design is about solving problems, so it's solving the problem in the most creative way possible.
Yeah. And hopefully in an effortless way, something that's unself-conscious of what you've solved.
Yeah, it's kind of magical.
Would I be right in guessing that there was zero interest in your line of work pre-jobs and then post-jobs, people took an enormous interest in industrial design? It seems to me like he brought that into the zeitgeist.
Certainly in the technology field, but previously, in fact, my dad worked for someone named Raymond Loewy, who was a very famous industrial designer in the 50s. He designed the locomotive, the Marlboro cigarette package.
Oh, wow.
So that was industrial design interest then, but in consumer electronics, definitely when, well, yes,
Let's
Steve
give
Jobs
credit.
stepped in and Johnny Ives, and they really helped amplify the industrial design, what it can do for a brand. Material, all the sensorial nature of what aesthetics is.
Yeah, to me, it seems like it was the first product I was aware of. Obviously, you're already stating some historically that existed before. But it appeared that when he sat down with the engineers, the aesthetic was maybe number one above even function, or at least tied. And I don't feel like there had been a product in my lifetime that seemed that design forward.
Everyone uses the term that they are design driven. You can't ignore the function or something
Right.
won't work.
Yeah. Am I imagining that, or did that create this whole new awareness and interest in it? I think also it led a packaging revolution. Granted, I understand like couture products came in really well-designed boxes that they spent a lot of money on, but it's just for your average person buying a product. It was the first time like that box arrived and you're like, ooh, this is a different experience. And where are the instructions? And why is this so simple? Everything about it seemed at least like a huge paradigm shift. Is it super relevant? Like if you were to study design now in college, would you have full classes dedicated to this? Or I'm making much more out of it than it was?
They did a great job of the packaging was like their brand. Opening a box was like walking into their store. We today always talk about the unboxing experience.
And then would I be right to guess that companies that never had a department worrying about the boxing or unboxing of it now have that?
I think it definitely brought more attention to the power of that emotional first contact and initial impressions, how meaningful that can be in terms of your memory of receiving something.
Like when you build the memory for this product, it'll be infused naturally with that part of the experience. And so it's as important as the product.
Yep, that's the way we think about it.
Okay. How do you two get together?
Well, what you're talking about is so relevant to things like awe and wonder and the way we enter spaces, how you feel in spaces or how you feel when you pick up things or use things. So I run this lab at Hopkins, and I'm very interested in how do you translate all these different types of research around the arts and aesthetics into practice. So sort of how do you become the Steve Jobs? How do you become the person that's using arts and aesthetics for all kinds of things? It could be for product development, but also I've been very interested in learning and health and well-being. How do you use these things to make us feel better, to help us grow and to thrive? So 5 or so years ago, I wrote Ivy and said, we are expanding this group. We have something called a Luminary Scholars Group that are people in the world that are already doing really cool things. You know a lot of them, the guy that wrote La La Land, or Rudy Tanzi, who's a neuroscientist at Harvard, who's studying light and sound in Alzheimer's, for example. But people are doing really cutting edge, unique things. So I wrote Ivy. I linked in her. And
Cold call.
Totally. That's my life. I'm totally about, you're interesting. I like to know more. But I had been following her career for over 25 years because I had developed a company called Curiosity Kits, which were hands-on learning materials in arts, sciences, and world cultures.
Just like the original KiwiCo.
Right. My great-grandfather invented the Ouija board.
Get
Whoa.
out of here. And if anyone could be summoned with the Ouija board, I would hope it would be the
Steve
inventor
Jobs.
of the... No, I would imagine your great-grandfather would have put a back door into accessing him directly if he invented it.
I'll tell you a quick story. My great-grandfather invented the Ouija board with his brother. My great-grandfather believed you had the answers inside of you, and his brother believed that it was spirits, and so they always were in tension, which is not unlike intuition. What do you know and what comes to you from the outside?
Yeah.
So anyway, Ivy and I met, and I asked her if she'd be interested in learning more about the lab, and she was like, yes. And so we had a call that we thought would last a half an hour that lasted 3 hours. It was just extraordinary. Her insights around the work was so fascinating. She was coming to it from an artist. I was bringing it from a translational researcher. And we decided to get together and had a salon at her house in Mill Valley where we invited artists and researchers and thought leaders to come together and talk about this work. And to get it started, we asked people the simple question, have the arts ever changed your life in some way? And hours later, people were telling these extraordinary stories about their children who had experienced mental health issues that had used art to really bring them back, music for Alzheimer's patients, moms and dads, people that had used space to really change their lives in profound ways. It was really extraordinary. So we started working on some things together.
I want to say right out of the gates. So I am blue collar, chip on my shoulder. Growing up, art is something elite people do. They have the free time. They have the leisure. They're making a big mountain out of it. They're using it as yet another way to delineate the socioeconomic classes. This is something for them. They're imagining it. A lot of knee-jerk, it screams elite to me.
Me
from
too.
where I'm from.
Me
so
too.
I just want to be cognizant of the many people who might be like me, starting this conversation and in anticipation of talking to you guys, I was thinking about how much baggage I bring into art. And then I was thinking, ironically, yes, it's mostly enjoyed and certainly owned by wealthy people, but almost universally created by poor people, which I think is really telling.
I'm really glad you started there. Art has been rarefied. It's been commodified. It's been something that we think you have to be good at it to do it. You have to have money to appreciate it. But in fact, art is our birthright. Like, just stop there. We're wired for art. It's how we have come into this earth. It's what really has made us human in so many ways. We bring the world in through our senses. In every way we express ourselves through arts is our human nature. And so it's been taken away from us in a way that really has left a lot on the table. And I think that's what we're really talking about in our work, is that the arts are something that we all do all the time anyway. We can do it without that stigma of what art is for commodity and for commercialization.
We went back and we really thought about when did the word art even come into being. And when you go back to indigenous tribes, they didn't have a word for art. Their culture was singing, dancing, painting,
storytelling.
And it was life. That's how we lived in nature, is doing these different art practices. And then over time, that dissipated as we started to look toward being more productive in the Industrial Revolution.
Specified labor. So I'm going to be a cobbler. You're a farmer. Dividing labor took you
Exactly.
out of maybe what would have been a casual participation in, quote, art.
Yeah. And a more natural participation. And then art became this more rarefied, something you bought or you obtained this level of artistic qualities. And the point is that we're wired for art. It's imperative for our health. And I think what we've now seen is optimizing for productivity does not make us a happy and healthy species.
Right. So similar timeline, we'll say jobs, fMRI. There's a lot of things that are now on the table that were previously not on the table. So you could have been designing somewhere, and now I'm pointing at you, Ivy. You guys could have been talking in a language and talking about emotions that this elicits. But there might have been a lot of people on the outside going, this is horseshit. Who knows what's going on? And for the first time, we can actually look at a brain and we can see what's happening, what area of the brains are ignited with more blood flow as certain things happen. So now there's this opportunity to bridge what has been an emotional experience into something that's a little more empirical and scientific and measurable and observable, which is exciting, which is why you guys are a great partnership. But what I like most about the book is you start with forget art and even the word aesthetic. That's a triggering word.
It's totally triggering.
It's a little lofty.
Yeah.
You break it down. It's like, hey, check this out. We've got 5 senses. Your 5 senses are at all times interacting with your surroundings and your world, and they're taking in information. They're trying to cobble together, what is this reality I'm a part of? And when you start really breaking down like what's happening chemically when you smell something and how you are actually not separated from the world around you, clearly, because you're smelling something 100 feet away, what's happening? And the fact that you now can observe in this fMRI, oh, this part of the brain is ignited during the olfactory experience, right? And recognizing that all of our senses seem to be predominantly centered in where our emotions are also emanating from and our memory, right? So that these senses, think of those as aesthetic. Can we say that?
Absolutely.
Totally.
Anything you're bringing in, you're seeing, you're smelling, you're tasting, you're hearing, is all the aesthetic around you. And that we can observe the brain change biochemically as it receives different stimuli through any 5 of those senses. So when we start there, to me, that's a much more broadly appealing and inviting.
And it's evolutionarily true. And so you start from this true baseline of how we engage and live in a world. And so then you start to think about, well, what are the things that make those sensorial experiences salient? And it's your background, it's your childhood experiences, it's the environments that you're in. All of those become your way of perceiving all of those sensorial things. So not everything can be salient, right? You can't attend to everything at the same time, but the things that come to you that you're like, oh my God, I'll always remember that. That's really based on your unique set of circumstances. And I think that's also really cool. So what's beautiful to you, I might say, oh, that's beautiful to me too, but it's beautiful for a different reason.
I forget who you're referencing in the book, but you talk about we could break beauty into 3 things: people, places, and things. And weirdly, beauty as determined for people is kind of universal, more than we would like. We're going to always bias towards symmetry. We're going to respond similarly to other people. And same with places and environments. But now when you get to things, it gets really fascinating. Will you tell us about why and how we respond so differently to things as opposed to people and places?
Yeah, so this is the work of Anjan Chatterjee, who has been doing a lot of interesting work around theorizing this aesthetic triad. And what he talks about is that it's this combination of three things. One is your sensorial experiences. The second one is your culture and your context and the sort of ways that you come into the world, come to something. And then the third is the way that you identify reward or response to some kind of stimuli. And it's those three things that make up your response to something being highly aesthetic. And that could be beautiful, could be ugly, could be any highly emotional response.
Yeah.
And so it sort of just puts into context how we are uniquely wired to experience different things. So like you've got this great dog painting behind you.
Thanks for
I'm a
playing
dog.
great.
Well, I'm a dog person. And I'm like, wow, I really get that attention. But somebody else might not be a dog person, and they'd be like, I'm afraid of that picture.
Sure, I was attacked by a Great Dane when I was 8 in front of columns.
But just noticing it is
Yeah.
good for our brain. This idea that being confronted, and that's why we talk about not only making art, but being the beholder, just looking at it or taking in new images that we haven't seen before is really important for our brain's plasticity. And so we want to put ourselves in new experiences all the time and have these experiences that exercise our senses and keep things dynamic. It's really important.
Yeah, the book is wonderfully scientific. You're explaining neural pathways and you're talking about what the conventional thought was, I forget, activity equals something, but that's not entirely true. That for it to become a memory, it has to, I just read it and I should know it.
Do you know what he's talking about and
No,
can
there's no
fill
way.
in?
Not yet. But we will.
But when you form a neural pathway, explain that process.
Basically, you're born with 100 billion neurons. You come into this world like ready to make connections, which I think metaphorically is actually extraordinary. So all of these salient experiences, these sensorial experiences, help to make those neurons connect to each other through synapses. And there's trillions and trillions of synapses that you make throughout your life. Those synapses create neural pathways. And those pathways are really important because they're the things that sort of connect all the different parts of your brain together. They're the things that help you create resiliency, creativity, help you really build that capacity for learning and memory. And the more you do that as a young child, total shout out for early childhood development in the arts, it really allows children to have more synapses, more neural plasticity, more neural pathways. And it's super important throughout your life for really protection and prevention and also ultimately intervention. So you have all these neural pathways in your brain that are being built all the time. There's a use it or lose it, which maybe is what you're thinking about, where
You're going to get it though.
Okay,
We're
not
nearing
yet.
it. I can feel
Okay,
it.
I'm getting close. I'm getting close. So if you aren't using those neural pathways or you're replacing them with stronger memories, those other neural pathways fade out and the other ones take place. So the idea is what Ivy was saying is that you want to keep building those kinds of salient experiences because they build strong neural pathways.
I learned from Susan, I love this idea that the old ones get pruned out.
Pruning.
Some people stay surrounding themselves around the things they know. They're the most comfortable. But actually, you want to be out there having these new experiences so that you will create new pathways.
And it could be walking in the woods. Salient experiences don't have to be in a museum or a concert hall. It's really what are those things that are aesthetic.
And remember, aesthetic is not about beauty. It's taking things in through your senses. So we like to say that the natural environment of the woods is the most neuroaesthetic place because you think about it, it has changes in temperature, sound, color, shape, smell. It is this multi-dimensional experience. And that's when we feel alive because all of our senses are on fire.
Yes, and now here's where we get into the science of it, which is now that we can observe and monitor the different levels of cortisol, we can see which part of the brain is firing, the amygdala is now offline, all these things we would want for relaxation or restorative states. We all know what it's like to be outside and it's that maybe perfect 10-mile-an-hour wind that's coming and it's spring. But to be able to now observe what happens in the body and we have some goals of what your resting state should be or what your baseline of all these different chemicals are, it can get prescriptive. You can kind of go, oh, well, if you were to listen to music for 45 minutes, it's been measured. Let's kind of drill into what we've learned over the last 20 years of being able to look at, monitor, and measure things.
We do know a lot about how the brain changes in the nature and environments or using other arts experiences. And we're starting to be able to think about things like dose and dosage. So in the medical terms, that's kind of how you think about pharmacological interventions, how much you give, when you give it. And recently, there was a really interesting work being done by Mark Morris Dance Company, where they've used dance for Parkinson's disease. And it used to be that you might go to a dance studio, get in a cab or take a bus or take a train to a studio maybe once a week, because if you have Parkinson's, you have trouble with gait, you have a lot of difficulty moving around. So it's really hard to do it. During COVID, these folks could dance online on Zoom every day, sometimes multiple times a day, with their families or their friends who were Zooming into. So throughout COVID, millions and millions of people danced who had Parkinson's all over the world. So retrospectively, what we're seeing now is that dose and dosage changed. Their cognition got better, their gait got better, their sleep got better, their mood got better. And that's extraordinary, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're starting to see that transfer into other kinds of things like autobiographical music and Alzheimer's and singing, and what that does in the moment when someone is experiencing that kind of stimulation where they're familiar with the music, the songs. I have a cousin that my husband and I sing with every week, and she has frontal temporal dementia. And last week we brought in her favorite Irish singer with a guitar. She woke up. Everybody that lived with her, the residents, all started to stroll in and sing at the same time. And for some of them, they hadn't sung for years. I always say it's the closest thing to magic.
I remember seeing a 60 Minutes decades ago about someone with Alzheimer's or dementia, almost zero memory of anything that had happened earlier than 5 minutes before. They were a concert pianist, and the full catalog of every song they had ever memorized is immediately at their disposal.
Tony Bennett. So he has Alzheimer's. He can sing every song he ever sang, but that's really where he is most alive. And it's extraordinary.
Isn't that because music is very close to your memory center in your brain?
So what happens with Alzheimer's is the hippocampus is where you hold most of your memories. That begins to shut down because of amyloid and plaque. But there are other parts of the brain that come online. Like we have these backup systems. So there's music in other parts of the brain that are really coming forward, most likely in the language center and other parts of the brain. So we have these multiple systems that we can hack memory in the hippocampus. And there's something about singing, which makes sense in some ways because we learn language through rhythm, you know, A, B, C, D, you know. So it's part of, again, our birthright. It's how we're wired.
Yeah. So in that case, it's just physically stored somewhere different in an area that's not degenerating.
Mostly multiple places. Yeah. And it's not degenerating.
Do older memories live in different parts of your brain?
For the most part, memories live in the hippocampus.
Our hard drive.
Yeah.
And to put it in Ivy's terms. For
There was a woman named Lonnie Sue Johnson who was a really great New Yorker cartoonist, like super smart. And she had encephalitis in her brain, and it bore out her hippocampus. So she couldn't draw, she couldn't talk, she couldn't remember anything. And researchers started to study her at Hopkins in our program. And what we were able to learn was that she could relearn how to draw. She never lost her ability to play piano, but she couldn't draw. And so her mom helped her learn how to redraw. So I think the capacity of the brain and its ability to duplicate systems and regenerate.
Well, you see in stroke patients all the time, right? They relocate entire motor control systems. It's
Epilepsy too.
that part of the brain is gone. They're like, all right, we're going to put it all over here.
These Parkinson's dancers that I mentioned, they lose dopamine. So dopamine is the thing that messes them up. So they're not making more dopamine because their body can't, but they're using serotonin and other neurochemicals to be able to override the fact that they don't have this dopamine hit. So that's at our disposal.
When you were talking about dose and dosage, even just 15 minutes of making art and cortisol is diminished. So there are really simple things that you can do to alleviate stress and anxiety in 15 minutes of coloring or
Well, I like that you gave the
humming.
example in the book of pottery, which is going to be one of the rare situations where you're going to use your left and right brain at the same time because you're using both hands to create the art.
With
Yep.
equal dexterity. That's so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's the
never
only
even
thing
thought
we
of
do
that.
equally
Does
as
writing
well.
count?
Yeah, it's expressing yourself. What's important is that we continually express ourselves, whatever the medium is, writing, dancing, singing, whether you're good or not good at it. It's just to
Yeah.
get that micro trauma out of the body. We interviewed in the book, there was a woman who created the company Art to Ashes, where she was training frontline firemen coming out of a fire to take a paintbrush and start to paint. And then they would go home and they would be able to behave normally with their family versus
Whoa.
bringing that trauma home with them. And certainly writing poetry, creative writing, that is super important to move through us what it is we have to say. And I
Wow.
think that's just not encouraged enough.
Well, again, it sounds like a luxury. It sounds like an extracurricular activity. Yeah, I would love to go to a museum if I had an abundance of time, or I'd love to paint, or I'd love to draw. It's just simply not prioritized as any kind of a essential activity for
But you can
us.
hum in the shower. You can,
and I
you
do.
Can, me too, right? And you can write in a journal. You have to cook, right? You have to eat. There's this guy at University of Texas, Austin. His name is James Pennebaker. He's been studying writing for years. You can write a secret down and never tell anybody, never let anybody see it, rip it up, burn it, throw it away.
Yeah.
And it will actually reduce your cognitive load and reduce your stress because you've
Wow.
gotten something
Released
out
it.
of you. And that's basic.
Okay, I've been talking about it a lot this year. I often write stuff because I recognize I'm a trial judge in my head. So you and I are going to have a fight. We're married, Susan, and I'm preparing my case. You're going to point out that I didn't bring the trash and I got to have an answer for that. And this is going on for so long. At some point, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to write all this on a piece of paper because then I know it's safe. The obsession is I'm going to forget one of these details in my defense of myself, and then I'm going to be bested. And so I got to keep going over it and over it. And that to me is rumination, is reminding yourself of your exhibits in your court trial that's coming up. It doesn't have to be with a partner. It could be anything, a job. And I go, just put it there. Just write it all down, right? The whole list, all your points. Great. Now we'll just go back to that thing if we need to. The obsession that I'll forget is, for at least me, the fuel of rumination.
It lightens the load. It frees you up to think about other things, which is
Yeah.
More pleasant
other
things.
problems.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
yes.
almost connected to these manifestations. I have a friend who's super into manifesting, and she's like, you write what you want on this bay leaf and then you burn it, and it's this whole thing. But now when I hear this, I'm like, oh, what it is really just this thing you're stuck on that you want. You can put it down and kind of give it away.
Give it to the
Yeah.
gods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
You talked at the very beginning about demystifying and I think de-rarifying art. There are so many things in our world right now. You know, look at Ukraine, look at the youth mental health crisis, look at all of the things that we deal with every day. You called it microtraumas. I love that term. We all are experiencing something. Could be learning differences, neurodiversity, whatever. And if there's something that you're wired for that could help you in the moment, I think that's the thing that we want people to take away from this, is that this is not stuff that you have to wait for. This is available to you now.
Also, you don't have to make time for it. We found out that doodling is actually really good for your brain in terms of focus and concentration. So while you're watching something or doing something else, just start to doodle. So it's not like you have to create additional time for some of these things.
Right. Okay, so you guys created something, and I find this so fascinating. It's in Milan. There's this big convention that happens yearly pre-COVID, and you guys teamed up and you created this multiple room experience where people would walk through. They would wear monitors that were measuring some biometrics, right? Some heart rate and some other things. And I'll let you guys explain what happened. I find this to be very unpredictable.
Yeah, no, it was super exciting. It was actually the first time I think the public had an experience of this idea of neuroaesthetics. The Google Design Studio goes to Salone in Milan, which is where 400,000 people from around the world come who are interested in design. But this was really an experience to show what design and aesthetics, which is the sensory part, does to your physiology. So we created something just for the exhibition. Susan's lab worked on with Google an algorithm that was able to detect based on certain metrics when your body was most at ease or least stress. We worked with an architect, Suchi Reddy, where we created 3 different living rooms, but with very different aesthetics, different colors, textures, music, smell, artwork, furniture. And we asked people, no talking, no phones, no technology, just be in each room for 5 minutes. You could touch things. It was called a space for being. And in fact, in between each room, we had a palate cleanser of a little foam room that you walk through to strip you of all of your senses. And at the end of it, we had people take the band off and we downloaded their information, which we then showed that we deleted afterwards, in an effort to show them in which room their body was most at ease or least stress, which we had said in the beginning, this will be a failure if at least 50% of the people, the room that their mind liked the best was the same as their body liked the best. But sure enough, that was not the case. In 56%, the room that someone cognitively would walk in and say, oh, I love this room. Now, that could be because it reminded them of a friend's room or it's something they saw in a magazine, having no idea how their body was feeling about that room. So more than not, the body was feeling differently than the mind was thinking. And so the exercise was really to show people a couple of things. First of all, your body is feeling all the time. We are embodied beings. So we are constantly sensing, and that we are often not in tune to how our body is feeling because our mind is overriding it. So it was really interesting because everyone thought there was an answer for what was the right room.
Well, I was going to say, so the first discovery, which is awesome, is that people, if asked what their body was most comfortable in, they would have been wrong 56% of the time, which is great. It's like Malcolm Gladwell. Or something. It's like, you thought this, but it was that. Secondly, and equally exciting, no consensus over which of the 3 rooms was most enjoyable for human beings.
No, because it was very personal. They say 95% of what we take in goes into our unconscious and only 5% is in our conscious mind. So we are taking in data and information and feeling that we're not even aware of. And so our body is using this data from our past to decide whether we're comfortable here.
Basically.
Yeah, essentially. And so that was the other huge aha. People loved the discovery of that. And then they had a ton of questions. And of course, the press said, well, is Google going to make a band that does this? I said, I don't want to have to wear a band to tell me how I feel.
Yeah.
This was done for you to understand that we are feeling all the time, sensing all the time. And so we have agency over what we surround ourselves with.
A varying degree.
Yeah, even if you're stuck someplace, even if you imagine something in the room that you can't have or a picture of it, I mean, there's always ways to bring other things.
To improve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my God, could you wear it while you were talking to people? And then you'd know who you were most comfortable around, like on dates?
Totally.
Like that's a dating.
That's a product.
Yeah.
So my first thought after reading this was, interesting. This would fall into the individualized medicine approach where you should really have your genome mapped, maybe even your epigenome figured out, everything figured out, and then we would know what's the best way to treat you. Similarly, you could find out what the ideal environment for yourself is. And what's interesting is, like, what if we all had that test done? And I said to my wife, what if you have opposite environments, like a couple? And I was even thinking, like, right now when my wife and I get in debates over style in the house, the reigning principle is she's got style, I don't. It's likely we have a different baseline. Maybe it's not about style as much as like, my body doesn't feel at ease in here. Fuck whatever magazine it came out of. This is the fact. So what a curious state that would be if couples knew their aesthetic preferences, and how would they compromise? Would there be a room for him and a room for her?
Isn't that how the man cave got started? Right?
I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Without us even knowing
Do they
why.
feel calm in there?
Yeah.
Ugh, all
Or
that
comfortable,
leather.
or comfortable.
Well, the 3 rooms, it distributed equally, a third, a third, a third.
It did.
And one room was very calm, almost a man cave. It was very calming, the first one.
Yeah,
Like
it was
very
darker,
primitive, darker,
earthy
round-
tones.
low lighting. I mean,
Yeah.
everything was done intentionally. Lighting was another thing that was
Yes.
very
Like
differentiated.
a Houston's restaurant?
I do like that. That's cozy.
And one was very light and bright with sort of citrus smells and almost Brazilian LED lighting. And then the third was luminescent, high ceilings. It smelled like charcoal. It was really sort of amazing. And people really thought about it a lot.
Well, there was a journalist who experienced it, and she went away, and she was really, really confused how she would have said room number 3 was her favorite. Well, she preferred 1 and 3, and in fact, her body preferred 2.
What?
And she really dug into why that could be. And she comes from Latin America, where there's a lot of colorism, and she's darker. My presumption, she didn't actually state that. But that growing up, the elevated environments that were explicit in 1 and 3, she was not welcome in.
Right.
But she mentally and through her own journey in life became an art critic and one who feels very comfortable around high-end art. But her body knew
That's me.
she didn't belong in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, her body, she said she was happiest when she was playing, and it was a very playful environment. So her body was saying, I'm comfortable here because it's where she played and she was happiest. But she really wanted to aspire to these other rooms. So
yeah,
I
that
mean,
would have been to transcend the shackles of the classism. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So that's where this idea of our past is stored in our body. And it's fascinating.
As I already told you, I've got all this classism, blue collar, struggly things. I would even say the appreciation for machinery has got to be a kind of socioeconomic. I'm into cars and stuff. None of my artistic friends are. And they're like, I don't get it. Like, you guys look at that truck, something happens to you. What is happening? Like, it's a high off the ground. Like, they can't comprehend it. And I'm like, no, where I'm from, that means everything. There's so much that you're looking at that you're missing.
But that's a salient experience. I mean, that's why I think even with children, my dad was great. I would show interest in something and he would find ways to get me go deeper in that interest, not try and take it away from me or say that's not what you should be interested in. Because when we feed ourselves these things that are making new connections, it gets us excited.
He wanted you to find the quintessential ingredient so that you could chase the ingredient elsewhere, maybe.
Child
Not
of
just
Wonder.
Child
You
of
said
Wonder.
it.
Yeah.
But no, I totally understand the excitement over certain things like a car or a piece of machinery. I just think you should go be around that machinery in that car.
Well, let me ask you, maybe this is one I just was aware of. And I was with my best friend all last week. We were skiing and we were watching the show, George Jones and Tammy Wynette. It's great. Highly recommended, George and Tammy. And a good deal of the show, he's riding this era-specific John Deere tractor. It's probably a 78 John Deere riding lawnmower. In the simplicity of design, I was like, it's Art Deco. That lawnmower was giving me so much pleasure every time they showed him riding it.
The shape, the sound of it,
Yeah.
the beauty,
Smell.
the simplicity, the beauty of the engineering of it. Yeah.
Am I leaving out any of the conclusions you guys came to by having these 3 rooms in that experiment? And then do you have plans for widening that or replicating that? I mean, obviously the biometric reading's getting better and better and better. More devices are on the verge of getting approved. Like,
Yeah, and I think it's what we do with that information. I mean, in this case, we just did this. It was an experiment to really let people know. I think Jill Bolte Taylor said this. We are feeling beings that have learned to think, not thinking beings that feel. And so that is a huge awakening in my mind, in that we walk around thinking that we're these intellectual thinking beings that maybe feel once in a while, and sometimes we're told not to feel. And the truth is we are feeling beings. We were designed that way first.
the thought comes after all this data that comes in through the senses.
The feelings, then the emotion, then the thought, right? And so sometimes we talk before we feel. It usually doesn't work out so well.
Right.
One thing that I would add is in this work over the last 4 or 5 years, it's true that there's a lot of research and there's a lot of practice and design, but researchers and practitioners don't necessarily work well together. And that's a big thing that we're working on right now together is how do you bridge this translational space so that it's bidirectional, you're learning from each other and end users, right? So it's not just I'm designing this for you, but we're designing this together. And I think the more we start to figure out how do we marry these disciplines, these fields are so siloed and they don't come together. But if they did, we could solve a lot more problems. And so in this fall, we're having an event in Washington, D.C., where we're bringing researchers and practitioners together to talk about translational design. And what does that really look like? If you're intentionally creating spaces for health, for well-being, for learning, what does that really do? And how can you make that really impactful?
You couldn't measure it in the past. You would just have a theory, you'd build the product or you'd build the space.
Well, measurement was sales.
Yeah. Here's a weird one I picked up in there. Curved spaces behind us.
I love that.
Tell us
I love
about
that.
that.
Ooh, Dax hates round stuff.
But do you notice the garage that's being built out there? Remember the whole thing? My whole workbench is a big curve now.
Now you love it?
No, I love that because I have it. Yeah, I only hate things I don't
You're
have.
changing so fast.
I only
I'm
hate
in neural
things I don't
pathways.
have. I'm going to write that down. I only
should.
hate things I don't have.
Could be a bumper sticker.
I mean,
I
don't
like
we
that.
all?
Well, it makes so much sense. We interviewed E.O. Wilson before he passed away, who was evolutionary biologist, studied ants, studied bees, started to study people. And one of the things that he looked at was this idea around space. And what we know is that we feel most comfortable when something's got our back, right? A curved space has our back and we're looking out over the horizon. We're safest that way. And I think that
like almost
that makes sense.
enveloped behind us.
Yeah, as opposed to a straight edge or a wall. He pointed out that we've lived 99.2% of our time in nature. It's only 0.8% that humans have been on this earth that we've lived the way we're living. And so it's our true nature to be in nature. And so those things that are softer or curved will make us feel better. But we really wrote this book because people need to know that they can do these simple art activities to really help their health and well-being. And right now there's such a crisis in mental health. And mental health is even bigger than physical health.
Yeah, number one leading cause of
absolutely.
disability worldwide.
The fact that we can understand, it's not frivolous, but singing, dancing, drawing a stick figure, taking out a lump of clay is really imperative for our health and well-being. And we can all do that. It's simple. You don't have to be talented.
And that science is validating it and not minimizing it to say, oh, that's cute or that's sweet. I think that's the other thing that's really important right now.
Other medical systems seem to be a little ahead of us. I'll read, the NHS in England has stopped prescribing antidepressants for low-grade depression, and they'll write you a prescription to a gym membership, and the NHS pays for that. Are there, in practice, any places that have been prescribing art treatment?
You're right. Around the world, there are some really amazing models. There's something right now for women that have postpartum depression that's using singing and swaying with babies and been really well studied. It's now being moved into other countries, and the World Health Organization is helping to move that forward, which I think is sort of extraordinary, working better than antidepressants. In this country, we spend a lot more money on research for things like Alzheimer's than we do on the arts to address symptoms of Alzheimer's. We spend $3 billion a year on research for Alzheimer's, and we spend a little bit over $100 million to fund the entire NEA. So we're really behind in this country. We're taking arts out of schools, not putting them back into schools, where we know it's not about enrichment, it's about social emotional development, collaboration, getting along. There are some movements here that are extraordinary in arts and health that are starting to grow in a public health way as much as in an education way. Hospitals are starting to use arts both in design but also in programs. I've seen some great work in palliative care, a lot of work in pain, also in trauma. And we've met with some really interesting people who talked about not post-traumatic stress, but ongoing trauma and ongoing stress, and how the arts can be really helpful in burnout. And that's showing up. I think because we're in such a crisis point, it's looking to things that you might have said, oh, I'll get to that. And now looking at things like the arts in this country more seriously.
We also have a proclivity for high tech. Don't get defensive, Ivy.
I have no reason to get defensive.
When people find out that there are low-tech solutions for things that have existed forever, we just are so biased towards technology. It's what's made us the hegemonic society on planet Earth. We have a basis for it, but it's like, wait, move your body for an hour? That's going to be better than any pharmacological answer? That can't be.
Well, I always like to say it's not either or, it's and both. So technology is allowing the folks with Parkinson's to dance with people all over the
Yes.
world. And, we believe progress is technology, which technology is just anything man-made. But we need to go back a little and think about our birthright, which is to express ourselves and to do these arts. There's some amazing things, even online. People are taking art classes and being taught by some of the best people in art all over the world because they have access now.
Right.
So I think it's the
Democratized,
combination of that which is allowing some of these things to happen. But yes, I do think there's a time for everything, and there's a time for screen time, and then there's a time to dance around your house.
Yeah. Have there been any studies that evaluate doing art on a device versus doing art with
paper.
tangible?
Oh, interesting. Well, I know that there has been studies looking at art on a screen versus in person.
So there's benefit in both. For example, live music is always better than recorded music. But there's lots of ways to get art. One of the things we've been looking at is what's called adherence. So we know that people that are doing different arts actually will take their medication more frequently than if they haven't been. If you don't have a reason to live, if your mood
Yeah,
is so
who cares?
down, who cares? And
Yeah.
so there's an interesting correlation where Ivy says it's yes and. Sometimes you can take medication and have some kind of aesthetic or arts experience. Also in virtual reality and augmented reality, there's some really interesting things that are happening in that space. There's something called Snow World, where people that have had burns are using this snowy, wintry virtual reality headset as they're changing bandages. And what's happening is they're taking less opioids and they're actually having less pain during those procedures, but also it's lasting beyond that. And so the theory is that distraction is at play here. I love the word distraction because it's so undervalued.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like a pejorative.
Right. But in
Yeah.
fact, it's really cool to be distracted sometimes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's necessary.
It's necessary. And so this distraction, you can't focus on two things at one time.
Yeah.
And virtual reality is so salient. So that's an example where I'll take it.
Drawing on a tablet is the same thing as drawing on a piece of paper.
That's a great example.
So,
That's exactly what I was thinking
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I just got one of those pens to draw on mine, and I can't decide if I like it as much or not.
yeah,
was
I mean,
just
that's
curious.
personal choice. Like,
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
your tool or your medium? But
Yeah.
it's the same brain-hand connection.
Uh-huh.
It's just a different tool.
I mean, these are so important, right? These fingers, these hands, how we use them, what we use them for.
It's our defining characteristic of being primates. We got to celebrate these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have there been any studies on since a defunding of the arts in general in public schools versus the depression rate and suicide rate really of young people? I feel like that might correlate somehow.
It definitely correlates. And even before the pandemic, youth mental health was on the rise. And during the pandemic, it just totally exacerbated it. And now kids are trying to reintegrate into these social situations where they've been out of it for several years. And there's a lot of reentry issues and really significant struggles. And in California, actually, you have this thing called Proposition 28 that's bringing arts back into the schools, not for enrichment or not because you're going to be a great pianist, but because they really see it as being essential to helping you learn better.
That's what it's all about. It's about framing. I can see where someone's arguing, like, well, if they're going to know arithmetic or they're going to know how to draw a still life, they better know arithmetic. It's all because it's just frame wrong. It seems like the point of it would be to become a great artist as opposed to just be in touch with your senses and put your mind in a nice state
Yeah.
for some hour of the
Mental
day.
health.
Art is in service for what? I think that's a really important question. Is it in service because it makes you a whole, healthy person? And math is good too? Or does art have to be for math? For a while, we were like, oh, well, music will make you better at math.
Yeah, music is math.
Yeah. That's so
As a defense of music,
true.
as if we
Right.
need one.
But that goes back to what's really success and happiness, right?
Yeah.
And originally we thought success meant getting a great job. And sure, that's all important. You have to put food on the table. But the idea that's why I'm saying productivity would make us happy has been wrong. Some of these things that we need to be taught in school about our senses, our feelings, expressing ourselves, doing the arts is as important as math and history.
Yeah.
And we need those tools in the toolbox.
In the 70s, when the Sputnik happened and United States sort of knee-jerk shutdown reaction was, We got to do math. We got to do engineering. We got to do STEM. And I think for all the right reasons, we made really bad decisions that are now part of this mental health problem that you're talking about. We took out humanities. We took out the heart of who we are to make sure that we didn't fall behind as a country. And in fact, we have fallen behind as a country. So, it was an experiment that has not worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going up against the great fear that we won't be number one. I mean, that's what you're battling. Good luck. That's a deep one. Do you think modern human is in a perpetual state of aesthetic fatigue? 200,000 years? There's no light bulb. All of a sudden, neon signs, LCD monitors on Sunset Boulevard that are 80 feet wide. Does it set the bar at a place that we're kind of overrun with stimuli and then we're fatigued? I wonder what all that heightened aesthetic stimulation has done to us.
I'm really a proponent of sensory literacy. How do we know what is good for us and how much is enough? And how do we have agency for how much we do take in? I'm an introvert and I need a lot of downtime from all of the sensorial stuff because I don't gain my energy that way. I've learned that. I'm a twin. My sister's an extrovert. I'm like, come on back. Come on back. Yeah. But we have to be teaching sensorial literacy because the world may keep making things. There's not a whole lot we're going to do about neon signs and all of that. But what you can do to manage your own life and your children's life and your family's life and the environments that you're in, you have the agency in that. And I think it's important. I love deep silence. I think that's an aesthetic experience.
Yeah, I just read this fascinating article about the quietest place on Earth. Did you read that?
I just saw that.
Some kind of sound engineering company owned this sound deprivation tank. It turns out Microsoft actually has one that's quieter. I've already got a call in to get me in that thing because you're supposed to go crazy if you sit in there for 30 minutes. The urban legend was people go crazy because it's so quiet. You hear your blood circulating, you hear your heart pump. But of course, I want to do it so bad. And that sounds incredible to be able to hear inside your body for the first time.
Well, solitary in prisons is the similar thing where you are by yourself and you may have sound, but people go crazy in solitary. What is the tolerance for lack of sensorial experience?
Yeah.
One of my sound teachers was working, Dr. John Boyer at Bellevue, and they had one of those. He would sit in it and he would hear the sound of his own nervous system.
Yeah.
And that's where he started to get, no pun intended, in tune with understanding that we're all vibrating atoms and frequency, and started to work with tuning forks.
This is the guy who carries around an A and a C and a G or something?
I'm the one in the book that carries the C and the G when people are stressed to kind of get them back into homeostasis. But he's one of the early pioneers using tuning forks. But it was because he heard his own nervous system and said, how do I get it more quiet or get it back into homeostasis?
Yeah.
I think it's called an anechoic chamber or something.
Yeah.
He sat in. But, Susan and I talk about stimulation. We did actually here in Venice an artist installation called Chromosonic, where you walk in and it's this beautiful, almost womb-like egg form. And they've taken music and equated it to different colors. And so you lie down and for a half hour, it goes through beautiful tones and music, and you keep your eyes open and the colors correspond to the tones. You're feeling the correlation. Now that was only two senses, right? Visual and sound. And we walked out of there and we were in a different state. We were so present because all that monkey mind that you talk about where we dig ourselves deeper into a hole, when you have those sensorial experiences, we were just stripped of that.
It overpowered the
Totally.
racket.
And your mind just wants to go to this beautiful place where these two senses are like on steroids. We talk about in the book at the end, the art of the future, but these kinds of experiences, hopefully we get to a place instead of just all the neon lights. We're going to understand this better. And so we're going to start to create places where people can go and have these kind of experiences to get to full health.
Yeah, they can learn about themselves. It'd be kind of diagnostic in nature, right?
Absolutely. Actually, I've done it twice now, and I had two very different experiences. And I think it was because of where I was at each time myself. But I think we're going to start to understand these sensory experiences and play with them, like this translation between seeing what we're hearing.
I thought you were going to say they paired tones and colors for 20 minutes. And then they had you close your eyes and play just the tones, and then you would probably
See the colors.
That would be
See-
my
yeah.
guess.
You could play with that.
Okay. I'm on the team now.
Yeah, you
It's-
are.
Okay,
Go for it.
Well,
Go
it's a lot.
create it.
They have a lot of anecdotal information because they're not studying it right now, but they've had a lot of different types of people come into this space. And I think the general sense was they felt less stressed, often more energized. And color is so basic to us as humans. You guys should check it out. It's really an amazing experience.
Wait, where's it at?
It's in
In Venice,
Venice.
California, called Chromosonic.
And how long is it going for?
It's like a permanent
is?
installation.
Yeah.
You have to buy tickets to go in. It's like 30 minutes.
I
but
want them
it's-
for free.
Yeah.
No, I'd love to
But
buy
no,
tickets.
but you should go. It really speaks to what we're talking about in terms of the sensory. It's on steroids.
Almost drug induced without the drugs.
Well, we study set and setting at Hopkins and music for psychedelic experiences.
Yeah.
And this was a set and setting experience without the drugs.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can describe
Yeah.
it.
And I think, we're all craving. It's why plant medicine has become popular. We're kind of craving what can we do to get ourselves out of ourselves.
Yes.
And so what I love about some of these experiences and these art experiences is you don't need these substances in a lot of cases to feel that and
Yeah.
get to that place.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Well, shrooms inhibits the corpus callosum, and your brain can't communicate with your sense of self as easily, and that's why it erodes. Is that how that works?
Yeah, that's my understanding. I don't
Yeah.
think it's fully understood, but that's
Right.
one theory as an induction to being able to sort of disassociate and then reassemble and integrate.
Yes. I've done shrooms a couple thousand times, just to let you know,
Yeah.
as an ex-drug addict.
So you know more than I do.
Well, I remember reading like 8 years ago, they found out there was lasting positive effects for those who had done hallucinogenics. And I was like, well, that's wonderful.
Well-
It makes you sustainedly more creative.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did you listen to music when you did them?
Oh, God, yeah. That and MDMA. Like, as soon as I was on ecstasy, that's what we're doing. We're listening to music the entire time.
So if you listen to those same pieces of music now, will it open those pathways?
That's a great question. I won't get that visceral euphoria, but I definitely, Jamiroquai, shout out, big time ecstasy playlist was Jamiroquai. When I listen to those songs, I have the memory and it's an altered state, right? It's not like a typical memory of dancing one night. I definitely have the full multifaceted memory of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tap into the euphoria, but it did imprint, augmented, which
Yeah.
is fascinating.
Which is
isn't
fascinating.
It
I think it
is,
is
right?
fascinating. Yeah.
We could do a whole other thing on drugs. I forced Monica to take mushrooms.
Forced.
Yeah, without my consent.
Yeah,
no,
just
I'm
dosed
kidding.
her.
No. But I was really against it, and then I did.
We had Michael Pollan. He's so
Yeah.
convincing. A nun will go do shrooms after talking to Michael Pollan.
I had done it by the time we talked to him. But
But in
his
the
book
wake
had
of
come
his
out.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to have to twist your arm to dance or sing or
Well-
draw.
Well, in
paint,
public,
are we?
yeah.
No, you don't have to do it in public. This is
On
personalized
my
medicine.
own, in the car, yes, I'm all about
I want to
it.
tell them this. It has nothing to do with your brain on art, their book, or anything else. But should we tell them about xanthan gum?
Yeah.
I feel like it would appeal
Maybe
to you guys.
they'll know what happened.
Okay. Monica will not sing on this show. I try to get her to sing all the time. She won't do it. I sing all the time. Terrible voice. I just do it anyway.
Me too. I'm
There
the
you go.
same way.
Fuck
I'm
it.
with you.
I don't care.
Right.
It's
Who
all-
cares?
it's
I
all-
always say that.
It's
I don't
my
care.
life. You're passing through it. So I'm away and we have some work to do. So we get on the phone to do some work, maybe some recording. And then she goes, well, you'd be happy to know I've been singing in my apartment by myself. And I said, oh my God, what are you singing? And she said, I made up a song about xanthan gum. And I said, can you sing it to me? She's like, no, I'm absolutely not going to sing it to you. I'm like, just fucking sing me the song. Will not sing it. We get off the phone. I'm sitting there. 5 minutes later, I call her. I said, was this the song? Xanthan gum, da 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 da, xanthan gum. She screamed like out of body, like, "Oh,
That is
how are you?
impossible.
Are
How
you
did you know?
recording?" Like
Like he's
what made
connected
more
to
sense
my-
is that I had tapped her apartment
Yeah.
with some microphones.
I'm still skeptical that maybe
Wow.
he did. But
That
that,
was
was
the
the
song.
song.
Xanthan gum to the tune of Hollywood. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
And now I worry that like is
People
that
think it's a show business thing.
Oh no, no, but like, is that a go-to song? People do that too. Like, is it way more pedestrian?
You guys,
than
neither
we
of you are going to
think?
guess that was the song. She
Would
said
never.
No,
No,
right?
but you're in
That's-
sync. I think it's synchronicity is what
Yeah.
I'm picking
You're
up.
connected.
Right?
Yes.
You two are
Yeah.
very connected, and
Yes.
you're here in Hollywood. It makes perfect
Yes,
sense.
there's only one way to sing Xanthan Gum.
Let's do it now.
I wonder if also you had sang that a few days before or something, and it was like embedded.
It could have been
That's
Inception.
possible.
I implanted that song, but I still stand by that being
Crazy.
maybe a real life miracle. I
Yeah,
witnessed.
I love that.
Okay, so Your Brain on Art, How the Arts Transform Us is the book. We learn all the science of what's happening in your brain. We learn about all the senses. We learn about some experiments you've done. And then ultimately the prescription is dedicate some time in your life.
Yeah, just like we've learned to exercise now, most of
Mhm,
us, it's been drilled into us through science, has told us. Same thing with how important sleep is. We really want to see a world where people are 20 minutes a day doing some art activity. You don't have to be good at it. You could pick your activity, but we believe that people would be happier, healthier, less stressed. And actually, there's statistics that one art event a month and you'll live 10 years longer.
What?
So
What?
imagine
What?
that. One
To attend
Well,
An
attend
art event?
or make.
or make.
Or make.
I
Wow.
prefer make.
yeah.
You're gonna make one art event a month? I'll
Well,
come.
my
I'll
journal kind of
attend.
counts,
It
right?
does
I
count.
write a page a day.
It does count.
So I'm already going to live 10 years long. You better catch up, girl.
Yeah.
We talk about this thing called an aesthetic mindset. It's four things. One is curiosity, being playful and exploratory.
Oh, I love
We
playfulness,
love
Right.
playful.
And a lot of people aren't playful.
Yeah, I know. I
right?
hate those people.
No, we can't hate them.
No, I do. Why are we here? Let's
But
play.
they are trained to think it's
They're scared,
frivolous.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're told not to
yeah.
play, right?
Exactly.
Well, you know, the opposite of play is not work. People think it is, it's depression.
Mm.
There you go.
Yeah, I like
I knew we were right.
Number three is sensorial experiences, just being aware of your senses around you, and then making or beholding, right? So if you did those four things, just kind of had that mindset, we think that that really equals health and well-being at a very different level.
Can I hit you with my armchair anthropological explanation for all this?
Absolutely.
Okay. We're slowly coming to learn. You just mentioned one of them. Exercise seemed like an activity for the vain. 25 years ago, I was like, I don't know. Who puts
Who started
jazzercise?
it? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. What,
Who
Jane
got us
Fonda,
started?
who's, these people, and they're vain and they want to look good. And it's a cardinal sin. Well, now we have all the information. If you're literally going to pick a single thing in your life for your mental health, it's probably moving your body an hour a day. It's so imperative. So the anthropological explanation of that is really simple, which is we were designed to be active, to go forage, and then we got rewarded through our biochemistry for that activity. That we understand. We were designed to move. We know why we eat incorrectly. We were supposed to overeat when there was something in season because we needed surplus calories for when there was nothing. Slowly, we just acknowledge how we lived and why we have to do certain things. Well, similarly, this art thing is part of the foraging and the hunting and the everything involved art. You were making and weaving baskets. You were making your own arrows. You were making stone tools. There was an artistic endeavor daily to meet your needs.
Absolutely. There was storytelling to communicate, drawing in the caves to tell your story.
Dancing to celebrate, to create ritual, to have deep meaning, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all that was part of everyday life. Drumming.
music, yes.
That's what I'm saying. This is our birthright. And I love progress, but I also think every so often we have to go back
Yeah.
and
There's
see
some-
where we came from.
There's some stuff that feels vestigial that we're going to have to cater to our whole existence as humans. Like we may have transcended the need. We can go to the grocery store. Neither of us have to forage, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's fine. But we're going to have to satiate that or we're not going to feel like we're functioning the way we were supposed to.
It goes back to the way we were designed. We were wired
Yeah.
to do these things.
You had to make
have
some
these
clothes for
experiences.
yourself.
Yeah.
Like, there was so much art happening just to protect yourself.
There was no word for it because that's just the way you lived.
Yes.
And so there's something about that that's ingrained in us that we've lost that we just need to take back.
yeah.
Well, and even things like tattooing, right? Or body adornment, all those things are ways of expressing who you are.
Yeah.
That's art.
Fashion.
Yeah.
Fashion,
Mhm.
hair. I mean, hair is a big thing.
The biggest. I'm having a rough hair day.
No, what's wrong with it?
Or
That's
in
nice.
between. You know what's really funny? Whenever I get a haircut, I always ask the person, just really make it playful. Like,
Oh,
make sure,
really?
yes, I want it real playful.
And
And
is
he
it different
cuts.
every time?
Well, just I want some pieces sticking out. I don't want uniformity. I want maximum playfulness. Is the wind blowing on him? I don't know.
And I love the definition of play is doing something different than you do all the time without a desired outcome. And that's the key because we're so driven toward outcomes. When you play, you're just playing. There is no end game in mind.
It's process only.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's how innovation and discovery happens. And we forget that. And so that's why it's so important to play.
Yeah, I'm with you. I am Captain Play. I want to do it
Yeah.
like 80% of my day.
I know, it is fun.
Well, Ivy, Susan, this has been really, really wonderful. I hope everybody reads Your Brain on Art. And I look forward to everything that's coming. I mean, to be honest, you must be more excited than you've ever been as a designer, Ivy. Just the notion that you could enter into an objective with data. Like, okay, 38% of people like this. We're going to make 3 different products and we're going to nail it for these people. And we know we have the biomarker. There's a whole new era of design coming our way, isn't there?
Well, it just validates. I mean, I started as an artist and I became a designer. I mean, Susan and I connected because this idea that now science is validating what we have known intuitively
Yeah.
is extremely validating. And it just makes what I do in the world and how I am in the world that much more pleasurable.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah.
not going to be a recipe where
Mm-mm.
a little bit of blue, a little bit of curvature, and add that bioluminescent light, and you're going to do this. What's so cool about it is this is like an ingredients list where you can pick the things that you want for an outcome, but it's always going to be different because designers and architects and artists are by nature creative. So what I love is that we may have more for you to pull off of the pantry for these amazing things that could be created at
Yeah.
all levels of society.
Yeah, I guess I just think it would be really interesting to be a designer at this moment, knowing that you could measure in some way the efficacy of what your intention was.
Yeah, the impact matches the intention.
Yeah.
I mean, I
that's
know that when the
rewarding.
team and I design, I'm the orchestra conductor, they are designing a product. We now talk about how do you want that person to feel when they look at that object or see that object. And then when those products go into consumer testing, the researchers come back with a word cloud. And the designers get so excited when what comes out of someone's mouth when they see that speaker or that phone or that object matches that designer's emotional intent. Getting that kind of feedback is terrific. But what I want most is for everyone to have the joys of creativity and expressing themselves
Yeah.
and to lead happy and healthy lives.
Our sweetest, cutest friend, Amy Hansen, has recently discovered pottery,
Pottery,
and
and she's
she's there
real-
like 5 days a
I
week.
almost said the worst thing. She's really good at it, even though that's not important,
God.
but she is really good at it.
But to see her, and then now our friend Charlie
I
has
know.
joined her, and now I'm like, fuck, I got to get down there. I did
Same.
pottery in high school.
After you guys are talking, I'm like, I should get into pottery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be
great.
frustrated.
I got to buy futures in clay. There's going to be a pottery revolution. Okay. Susan, Ivy, so great meeting you. I can't wait to
Thank
see what
you.
other fun things you do. And if you ever do one of these weird rooms again, I want to come.
Yeah,
Okay.
can you
Yeah, I want to
keep us updated?
For sure. I can't even imagine. It's so much fun to think about what we're going to do together and what we
I
can.
love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. This was
Thank you.
a lot of fun.
Maybe you could
Oh, good.
Barbie's mom. Maybe we could incorporate some Barbies. I really love that your instinct was to put sneakers on her. That's very fashion forward. Sneakers are in.
Yeah.
Now, when the body shape was reduced, was there any negative outcome in sales?
Actually, no. We did a lot of testing in those days. This idea of, especially to little girls, what makes a Barbie doll a Barbie doll? It was this, I forget how tall she was, like 12 and a half inch, fully fashioned woman. We showed them different body types.
They didn't really care about the body.
It was the fact that it was a full figured woman within that height.
It's a full story.
It is.
Yeah.
The
Remember?
nude Barbie's not a story. I'm being sincere about
Yeah,
story.
it
Like you
could
put her
be.
in a waitress outfit, there's a whole story there.
Right.
That's what Barbie does. She
Right.
has an occupation.
The whole idea was the imagination or projection that she could be anything
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
wanted her to be. What did you want her to be? Sometimes adults would project what they thought was critical here.
Yes.
And at the end of the day,
Because
kids,
they're sexualizing Barbie, but the kid's not.
no,
Right.
it's
Right.
very simple.
Yeah. There was never any movement to get male action figures to be less muscular, or was there?
Ken?
By the way, in my household, do you guys want to hear how Ken speaks?
Yeah.
Barbie, I don't want to go in the water. I only ride on jet skis. Barbie, where is the jet ski?
So I have to play with my daughters.
That's Ken.
And Ken is very stuck up.
He exudes that to me again. Chip on my shoulder.
Even though
What up, Barb?
you don't not look like Ken.
Ooh.
And that is a compliment.
I'm a tall white guy, with
Yeah, and
broad
he's-
shoulders.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
handsome.
We actually,
handsome.
we had a tattoo Barbie. We did not have a tattoo Ken.
Oh, really?
Missed opportunity.
Tattoo Barbie.
Oh,
Did
like-
Ken have a friend? I feel like Barbie
Yeah,
did.
like Josh or something. I know it wasn't Josh,
Wasn't
but
it
Oh, Kyle's here.
Oh,
Hi,
Skip.
Kyle.
Oh no, that was a girl, Skipper.
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 Yeah.
Skipper.
Oh.
The
Yeah.
sister, that's Barbie's sister.
That's Barbie's
Okay.
sister, sorry.
Her sister. Yeah, I always connected with the sister or the friend. I never connected with the
Sure.
actual.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I know. Followed that path to the bank.
It's all right
To the
there.
pottery studio.
That's
I
right.
think that's what you meant to
That's
say.
exactly right.
Well, wonderful meeting you guys. I look forward to a future where we take our exploration of artist series as we would our physical health or any other thing we're coming to recognize as essential and not auxiliary.
Yep. If we
Yeah.
exercise, sleep, and art,
There we go.
Love
Making
it.
art.
Easy.
Yeah.
beholding art. There
Yes.
you go. Thank you.
All right, good luck with
Thank
everything.
you.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman.
See?
Fire hazard.
It is a fire hazard. We're working in a fire hazard currently. The door won't open.
Don't say that because OSHA, they'll shut us down. Is that what you want?
Yeah,
You want us to get shut down?
yeah.
We've had enough challenges. We don't need to get
have.
shut down.
We faced a few challenges.
Apologies to everyone about that.
Yes.
We don't really control it, but I still want to say sorry.
Of course.
Yeah.
We're sad that we can't currently put up episodes.
Yeah. Armchair's not in my feed. Anonymous.
Armchair
Still not
Anonymous
in my
is not in
feed.
your feed yet. The Spotify's working on it currently. I did some anecdotal survey. I did a survey
Okay.
of people I know. Most have it.
Uh-huh.
You still don't. Charlie doesn't. Charlie doesn't have Thursdays.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay. I'm going to go again. Right, real-time update.
We're gonna assume.
No,
if you're,
it's not. And let me shut the app. I'm going to shut the app. It's shut. I'm going to reopen it. It's loading.
Okay.
That's your best shot,
I know.
you'd think. Got Armchair. That's my favorite show. No.
No.
Jerry Shetty, first episode.
Okay, because Jordan just texted saying rollouts at 100%. Can you let me know if folks are still seeing the issue? Dax still doesn't have it.
I just watched him shut the app down and restart it. I mean, I could restart my phone. Should I try that?
I guess, but like not
Who's
everyone's
gonna
going to
do
do
that?
that. That's
I
the
know.
problem.
I have mixed feelings about this. It's a big ask. Part of me is like, it's not a big ask. You know, even like one of the suggestions was sign out and sign back in. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
I know.
That's what I felt like personally. I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. But then I also thought, life has become really convenient.
Of course.
You know, like you can just hear stuff
Yeah.
anytime you want to hear it.
hmm
And yeah,
But for me, it's more about we can't tell people to do that.
right.
So we're in a
Cats
bad
2
cycle.
2.
Yeah.
Cats 20.
That's the ish. I'd be okay saying, hey, we know this really sucks, but we need you all to
Yeah.
restart your apps. But there's no way for us to tell every single person.
Whoever
who
can hear us
listens.
say that doesn't have the issue.
Exactly.
Yeah, including me, but I can hear it, even though I have the issue.
Yeah, because you have personal access to me.
Did you ever read Catch 22?
I didn't.
Oh, boy. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's one of the
a
funniest books.
classic.
But I don't know if people realize it's a comedy. Like, it's a hysterical book.
It was my mom and dad's 40th anniversary yesterday.
I saw the cute picture you posted.
Yeah. They went to Jose Andres restaurant.
Oh, they
in,
did?
Vegas. Yeah.
Oh, they were in Las Vegas?
Yeah, they're in Vegas.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, for their anniversary.
Where are they staying?
The Win.
Nice.
Yeah.
How was D.C.?
DC was great.
You went to Kamala Harris's house?
Yes.
Where does she live?
The vice president's residence.
Yeah, I got that.
Oh.
Like, is it an apartment? Is it a
what's the
standalone
address?
home?
It's what'd you say?
What's the address?
Oh,
It's
I
probably
mean,
public
yeah,
knowledge.
it is. It's a home, of course.
Well, I don't know. It could be a brownstone.
Oh,
DC's got brownstones?
not for those people.
Okay, so it's a home and has a yard.
Yeah, there was a pool in the back.
Oh my God. How close is it to the White House?
Close.
Can she walk to
I
work?
did take an Uber. No, I don't think so. I don't think
Okay.
she would.
For security reasons.
Yeah.
But could she?
I mean, I
Are
think,
you going to walk to work or no because of security reasons when your house is done?
No.
You're not going to walk
No,
to work.
I'm going to
yeah.
have security
Okay.
drive me. I walk to work now.
I know, and you live much further away
Yeah.
than you will.
No, she could, but wouldn't. Like, not
okay.
even for security reasons. It would just be far.
It's too far.
I took an Uber.
Is it a nice house?
Yes, it's beautiful. I mean, I didn't get a full tour
You
of
go
the
to a
house.
bedroom?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was really cool. She hosted an event with Glamour to celebrate International Women's Month,
Okay.
or Women's History Month.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
Wi-
Be careful.
It was International Women's Day recently.
Yeah.
It's Women's History Month. So it was really cool.
Who was there? Who'd you see? CNBC.
There were so many awesome women there. Meg the Stallion was there. Nancy Pelosi was there.
The Pelos.
Who else? Susan Rice was there. Lots of and then like some fashion people.
Monica Padman.
Sally Christensen, who runs Argent, the suit company.
You did the modeling for?
I did her work friends thing, which is a cool thing she does. Anyway, she was there, which was fun for me because I had a buddy.
Yes,
And-
you needed that.
Coming after Austin, I was
Mhm.
really like, oh God, I'm going to have to go back to another city by myself. Not really in the mood for that right now.
Right.
It was such a blessing that she was there.
But did you have those same Austin feelings or were you better
No.
in DC? DC's a good solo town?
Yes.
Okay, did you hit any hot restaurants?
I did.
You looked over at Wabi.
Yeah, I already texted Rob from the restaurant.
Uh-huh.
Went to an amazing restaurant called
Arby's.
Bresca.
What is it?
Bresca.
Bresca.
Yeah, and it
Oh,
was
for
a
Women's
taste.
Month.
No, not Bresta.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Need to get my head right
Okay. It's been a while since you've been badgered, hasn't it?
a little bit.
Yeah. you've
I
been
just spent a
poked
lot
at.
of time with women,
They're being nice and,
and now
supportive.
I'm in a space with two men.
Uh-huh.
And it's a different type of vibe, you know?
Sure.
So
You know, I'm really outnumbered in life, so I can relate.
yeah, and not to bring up a sore subject,
Yeah.
but one time, me, you, Kristen, and the kids were in Turks and Caicos.
Yeah.
And this was actually a long time ago at this point. And me and you got in a huge fight there.
We sure did.
We talk about Turks and Caicos a lot, but I don't know that we talk about the fact that we got in a huge fight.
Yeah.
That ultimately the result was that you shared, and it was totally understandable, that you felt outnumbered in a way. Not with the kids, obviously, at that point, but me and her.
You and Kristen, yeah, because you're both women and you
Yes.
have a similar point of view.
Yes.
And on the topic that was being argued about, you had a shared point of view
Yes.
as well.
And understandably, that got to you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I did actually, it's funny that we're bringing this up because I did actually think about this the other day
Okay.
in relation to, I don't even remember what it was, but something came up here. It was a gendered conversation.
Uh-huh.
And I felt like that. This feels not all that fair
Right.
when there's two men in the room
Mhm.
and me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember that Turks and Caicos thing. And
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I mean, it just is hard when there's not an even.
What you get, I guess what you hope for is that when you're in some kind of debate,
Mhm.
at least someone else recognizes what you're saying is valid.
Yes.
Right. And when you're so low, it is a weird feeling.
When you're the only person speaking to represent a group,
Uh-huh.
it's very hard. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty triggered there, I think, also
Mm.
for many reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bresca.
Bresca.
It was really good. I did the tasting menu,
Oh.
which was all that was offered, but I was glad because it was so good.
What was the wildest thing you ate that you wouldn't have normally ordered and you said, well, this is really good?
There was this like carrot sort of a carrot soup.
Yeah.
And it was so good. I probably would have ordered it because it sounded like something I would like, but it was so good.
What do you think made it so good? What was proprietary about the carrot soup?
Savory and sweet and warming and
cookies.
The raisins and the almonds.
Yeah, the raisins. The really added something.
The ripping and the tearing?
Yeah, exactly.
The wild women.
It was not as thick as a mousse.
A runny mousse.
Ew, that sounds unappetizing.
They have a
but
beautiful carrot runny mousse over there. Have you had their runny
was
mousse carrot flavor?
delicious. And I had duck.
Oh, was it greasy?
No.
The right amount of grease.
Yeah, it was
People love
delicious.
saying that about duck. That's a
Oh, that it's
greasy
greasy?
bird. Oh, yeah, that's what everyone says. Very oily. It's an oily
right.
bird.
I guess there's duck fat. That's a thing you,
Duck fat
you
fries.
can cook with. Yeah, duck fat fries.
Duck fat
Okay.
fries.
So
Ooh,
anyway.
chocolate with the goose.
Oh,
Or with the
Yeah, but it's like it was
The goose.
chocolate goose.
it was
Bitter chocolate.
thank you. Yes, it was bitter. So it was good. And then I got some M&Ms from the president.
Oh,
They sprinkled on the duck.
No, sorry. This is
now you're over at Kamala's.
yeah, I'm at Kamala's.
And they had a bowl of M&Ms?
No. Kamala's right hand, her Gary.
Okay. That's from Veep?
Yes.
Okay.
Tony Hale.
Yeah.
Her right hand, her name's Opal. She is friends with Sally. So we all had lunch, which was awesome. And Opal gave me some M&Ms that she carries in her purse. They're in like a presidential box.
Oh.
And they're to give out to children, I can only presume.
Or little
me.
girls from Georgia.
Yes. Little babies who eat grass. And I was so thrilled.
Oh, I bet. And you have the decorative commemorative box, commemorative
Yes. And
M&Ms box.
no one can eat them. It's like when Bill gave us those Diet Cokes.
Yes.
Can't drink those.
No, I could be dehydrating and they'll stay unopened.
Yeah.
I'll die with it in my hand.
That's right.
Staring at it.
So that was really exciting. I realized that about myself. I mean, we already know this about me, but we went for lunch to this restaurant there called The Diplomat. And what Sally said, this is a very swivel-heady place.
See and be seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I never
like
heard
going to
that.
the Ivy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had never heard that phrase and I liked it.
Swivel head.
It was really cute and I liked it. But as soon as I sat down, I thought, what am I gonna buy here? Like, not food-wise. Like, how am I going to commemorate this? Do they have mugs? Do they have matches? Do they have pens? What can I take from this moment?
Yeah.
I was really starting to let it, like, run the show.
Yeah, it was consuming you.
Uh-huh.
The most important thing at that point was walking away with
something.
some memorabilia.
Yes.
Uh-huh. I've seen you get that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. You like a teacup at a place and then you're like, do they sell these?
Yeah.
And that it becomes a whole. Yeah.
Yes. And I had to ask, if
What's for sale
there
in
were
this restaurant?
mugs that had the name of the restaurant on it. Because I had a mug, but it had no name.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, this isn't commemorative.
No.
He said, no, we used to. Worst thing he could have possibly said to me. We used to, but we don't anymore. Oh, but are you sure? Can you check? Yeah. You know, there was
How long
nothing. But the M&Ms helped.
Okay, good. And was the food good there or just the people watching? But so for me, I wouldn't know anyone.
That's why I loved it there. I loved it so much because it was an industry town, but an industry that I'm not a part of. And I loved that. I could just be a voyeur, not care really, like not be invested in who anyone was, but know like other people were in. I don't know. I just loved that.
Yeah. Like what if you saw AOC eating with Mitch McConnell at the...
that would never happen.
Right. But what if you saw that and be sawn?
If I saw that,
yes,
I would be like, I'm having a seizure in DC.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so while I did that, you were in Atlanta. Everyone needs to know, did you go dancing?
Okay, listen. I'm going to back up and say I went to South by.
Right.
Thursday.
Did you stay at the hotel I stayed at?
Nobody saw it. Someone there was staying there, and I inquired about how hustly and bustly it was.
Yeah.
We didn't stay. We flew in and then flew out.
Oh, right.
Because we went to Atlanta directly from there. So that was lovely and fun. South by, still going on. It was weird for me to be there, having already heard your story from the previous week.
Yes.
I'm like, this is a long festival. These people have been working their asses off.
Exactly.
Okay, so Atlanta, night one. Nothing. Okay. Night 2. What's the name of the restaurant?
Holman and Finch.
We
Beautiful.
discovered Holman and Finch. It was in a little plaza really close to the hotel, like 3 blocks away. Had the burger.
Mhm.
It was insane.
It's the best.
As I was eating it, I was like, well, we're definitely going to eat this again. But after that burger, after we left, I was like, God, oh, let me back up. I made the decision, like, I'm going to eat this burger with the bun this weekend. I'm just going to take my medicine. So it was already like, I'm going to fuck up this weekend.
Yeah.
And so leave that restaurant. And now I want dessert, which I never want dessert.
Yeah.
And we went into a bar in the hotel that was blasting music pretty loud. It was a scene.
It was a club?
No, I asked the hostess, is dancing permitted?
Oh.
Because I might.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Because no one was, and there was no real area.
Okay.
But I was allowing myself to feel like I was at a nightclub.
Okay.
Real loud music, people watching. I'm eating this chocolate cake with syrup all over it. And I'm dancing in my seat a lot. Okay.
Was Kristen with you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know how late it was at that point. Maybe 9 or 10. It's
Sure.
not like it's that late.
Yeah. 7 in your body.
Yes. And so that was, I guess, Friday night. And then Saturday, I'm disappointed I haven't found a dance spot.
Oh, you're okay. Even though it had only been a couple hours.
Yeah. I'm like, last night was probably the night. I should have done it.
Okay.
So then I'm looking, because I'm eating like an asshole, I haven't had eggs and toast in forever. And I'm like, I'm going to eat over easy eggs and toast. And I'm going to eat a lot
Soft
of them.
boiled?
Poached.
Okay.
On that note, a lot of people have written in to say that I've definitely said soft boiled. So I just want to be honest about that.
Thank you for being honest about that.
Yeah. So I'm looking for a cafe. There's a Waffle House kind of close. And so I'm like, I want to go to Waffle House. That I know I'm going to get exactly what I want there. Yeah. But then another part of me is like, you're in a foodie town, like go somewhere else. So I see them pretty close to the hotel and really highly rated, a place called Feathers and Fins.
Oh shit, I've never heard of it. I got to go there?
Listen to me. No, hold on.
My God.
It's really close to the hotel. We walk in there at noon on a Saturday. There's a security guard.
Oh.
He pats me down. I go, there have been some shootings in here? And he goes, no, we're just trying to make sure that we don't have any. And I'm like, okay, great.
Good job.
Walk into this restaurant, which is a breakfast spot. There's a DJ.
Wow.
And it is packed.
Nice.
At noon. I am on fire. I am so happy to be there.
Yes.
I'm dancing at the host stand. It's already got me. I'm already dancing.
Are other people dancing? No. Okay. I see your face.
Well,
okay, go on.
No, hold on. There's a DJ on a platform.
Okay. That's an invitation.
We ask for 2 and he says, do you have a reservation? It's noon.
Yeah.
At a breakfast spot. And I said, no, we don't. And he's like, all right, let me look. He went and looked around and he's like, I mean, the earliest you're going to be able to sit down is a half hour.
Wow.
So, and this is regrettable. We're like, okay, thank you. I don't want to wait a half hour. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
So we left.
Oh.
We shouldn't have left because we ended up walking to a place that was another 10 minutes away. And then by the time we walked 10 minutes back, I don't think we saved any time. And I was loving the vibe in there. It was incredible. I can only imagine what the place is like at dinner.
Oh.
It was, you just don't, this doesn't exist in LA.
I've never heard of
vibe, noon on a Saturday, everyone's dressed to the nines. There's a fucking DJ. People are eating chicken and waffles and it is a party.
Well.
And I missed out on it. But I loved it in there.
Where did
I
you
think
guys
that's
end
my
up
big
going?
regret. Then we went to some other place with a French name, and it was fine. It wasn't.
Was it Lucian Books and Wine?
It was. How on earth did you know that?
By the way, I gave Kristen a list.
Oh, we weren't going off that. It was just what I had looked up in the area. Cafes near me.
Oh, really?
So Fish and Fin was before it, and then that.
Okay.
Crazy that you just said that.
I fucking love that place.
Okay.
So much. I gave Kristen a list that had both Lucian Books and Wine and Holman and Finch on it.
Okay, but not Fish and Fin.
No, I have not heard of that.
Fin and Feathers.
Fin and Feathers.
Okay.
Fin and Feathers. Shout out. Even though you didn't let me eat there, I'm giving you a big shout out. And also, you don't need any help. The place is booked.
I'm going there next time.
It's
home.
incredible.
I'm excited. Okay, so I love that place. Last time I was there, I went with my girlfriends.
Uh-huh.
And it's so cute because it's like half a bookstore. And the books are beautiful coffee table books and like cool books. And I bought like $700 worth of books.
Okay.
When I went there.
Do you think every location has the amount of books? Because I didn't really see.
It's a standalone restaurant.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
That is where we went. Lucia. That is insane.
Yeah.
Lucia?
I don't know.
Okay.
Wait, what are you worried about? What are you worried about? There weren't enough books?
I didn't see really many books.
It looks like there's books and wine, and then there's Ristorante Italiano.
Oh, did you go to Ristorante Italiano?
This was like a little...
In Duluth?
No, that's where I'm from.
No, this is...
there's one there, and then there's...
Downtown.
There's Books and Wine.
Books and Wine is where you went. That's
on
near...
Peachtree Road?
Yes, that's near the Four Seasons.
Oh,
I mean, it's not a ton of books. It's when you walk in on the right side, there's all these, but that's it.
I guess I just didn't, I don't know.
I think you were upset because of Feathers and Fins.
I was like, this vibe blows compared to what we just left. No, what we just left.
Careful.
We just left
It's got like big bookcases.
It doesn't have cases, but it has like, they're all on a wall.
Yeah,
it's a wall of bookcases.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You'd love it, Rob. It's up your alley.
I don't know. It doesn't look terribly familiar. But anyways, we're getting too bogged down.
That's what I was concerned about.
Yeah, it's definitely called Lucia's. Maybe there's another Lucia.
Lucians?
It's not Lucia's.
Lucia's.
Oh, God.
Lucy's?
You went to Lucy's.
No, I didn't.
Lucy's house.
I remember pronouncing it was a big deal, just like it is now. Okay? That's how I remember it.
Were you on Eater? How'd you find
Was
it?
I an E? No, I was
Eater!
dead sober.
Oh!
No, I went to fucking Google Maps cafes near me, and then I look at the reviews, and they got stars. And then I start going on
fancy
the
place.
highest stars, and they had a lot of reviews and a lot of good stars. And it was good. It was good.
Was it Cafe Lucia?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
A little
not
different.
it.
Different place. 4.2 stars.
Damn.
You can understand the confusion. It's Lucia.
And also, no wonder there weren't books, because that's not a book.
Gotta be the same thing, though, right?
No.
Two Lucias?
It's not Lucia.
What is it?
I don't know.
How can you not know and tell me it's wrong? That's
okay, because I don't know if it's pronounced Lucian or Lucian. I think it's Lucian.
with an N.
Yes.
There. Oh no.
Books and wine. It's all one thing.
This did not have an N at the end.
Kristen would have liked it.
Yeah.
So she would have been saying, oh.
Yeah, no, we did our crossword puzzles and kind of missed out on anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, you did not go to the right place.
It's clear I didn't.
All
yeah.
right.
Because that picture did not
I'm
look
glad
familiar.
we figured that out, because it sounded like you were
underwhelmed.
Yeah, and it's not fair.
And this place was great. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but when you leave Fin and Feathers, everything's going to blow compared to that.
Not Lucian Books and Wine. If you went there, you would have liked it.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a lot to do, because I have a gynecologist appointment
Right.
that I've been trying to get into for 10 to 20 months.
Yes. We got to get that thing looked at.
We got
to get under
to
the
look.
hood. Yeah.
I really do think, because I haven't had a pap smear in a few years, because they only do it every 3 years now. Don't laugh.
You're going to the dentist every 6 weeks. Well, no, I'm more thinking about how often you're at the dentist. It just seems to me your teeth are just like these pieces of wood.
No. Gum health affects your heart.
I know, and Alzheimer's. I know. Listen, if you're going to have someone in your teeth every 6 weeks, I think you should have someone in your vagina more than once every 3 years.
Insurance says 3 years for pap smears.
Okay.
Trust me, if I could be getting them more often, I would be.
Yeah.
But
look under the hood.
I just got a new insurance because SAG. So I can get a new one, and I'm going to, because before I do egg freezing again, I want a new one. I need to see an updated version of what's going on.
Right. You said it's a mustached man.
Yeah.
You went through the headshots of all the doctors.
Yes, and I specifically picked one with the mustache.
With a womb broom.
Yep.
Yeah.
They often know best.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to get to the gyno. Okay.
Oh, I got to get to the gyno. So you have a story you've been wanting to share for the last 10 hours. You went to a birthday party yesterday, and you want to talk about it.
Oh, yes. Thank you. So it was Ace's 9th birthday party.
Yes.
He wanted to see Shazam.
Yes.
And I want to be careful here because I want the film industry to thrive.
Oh.
And I want exhibitors to thrive.
Yeah.
So I want to be careful here.
Don't call out the theater then.
I'm not gonna.
Okay.
But also the technology. I'm going to have to
I
call
know.
out the technology.
I already did. We've already
Yeah.
done it on here.
Okay,
It's
so
fine.
I'd never been to a movie in 4D, they call it.
Yep.
And, I sit down and probably the exact same experience you had. I'm like, oh, why is there a button that says water on or off? That's curious. And then I start kind of putting it together. Okay, this thing's going to vibrate a little bit.
Yep.
Well, then they give you a little taste of it in one of the previews.
Sure.
And, okay.
It's so startling.
It's insane. It's insane. There isn't a ride at Disneyland that even I could say is 1/3 of as violent as this thing is. It's just like it's like you're sitting on a lawn chair with a jackhammer
Yes.
underneath of it. And it's just banging you. And there's even it punches you in the back. Did you get far enough in the movie where you got punched in the back?
No, because we saw Top Gun, and we've already talked about it, but we left, I really think 6 minutes in.
I wanted to leave so bad you can't imagine.
Yeah.
But it was a birthday party, and my
Yeah.
kids weren't as frustrated. But that's why I think this might be great for kids.
Right. It is for kids. Like, this shows our age, I think, which is really upsetting.
But I didn't even find that the fucking jumping and jostling and violent rattling was even really linked to anything. It's just like when there was action, they started fucking vibrating the shit out of you and jostling you. But it didn't seem to sync up nicely with anything. And then you got little air valves next to your ears, like
Puffing.
psst, 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 like when there's gunshots. So you're like, okay, but it doesn't make sense because it's coming from behind me. The bullets were coming from in front of me on screen. It blows my hair around. I love playful hair, but also I gotta fix it now.
Oh, and then did you turn water on or off?
Well, once I was so unhappy with the air being blasted in my ear and fucking up my playful hair, and I was also getting consumed. I'm too tall for where your feet would go. That my feet were up too high. So then I have them on the ground, but then the chair's bouncing up and down 2 feet off the ground, and I'm thinking, is my ankle gonna get caught between the floor and this descending chair?
Oh,
and then I'm just thinking, how many injuries are there? Kids get out of their seat, they're on the ground. The fucking thing's bouncing up and down with
I'm
the metal.
surprised you didn't have to sign a waiver.
That's exactly what Kristen said. When we left, she's like, how could they not?
Because people will get hurt or
I just
throw
pictured
up.
like an 80-year-old man in there,
Heart
not knowing what
attack.
he's getting into. No broken bones.
And heart attack.
It was insane.
Wow.
I tried to film everyone because Molly and Charlie and Erica were one row above us and off to the right. And I glanced over at one point and they looked fucking ridiculous. You know, like those old machines you'd see that were supposed to make your belly smaller? It's just a big tire that went around your belly and shook your whole body.
What?
Like when they show all those old-timey workout videos and there's like a huge band that goes around the person's back and tummy and it's just like that's what they looked like they were. They looked insane. Everyone's like their bangs were in front of their. And so once I got a load of that, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta film this. I mean, this is preposterous. But then my phone would turn on the light when I'd try to film. Oh, so I'm the idiot in the movie with a fucking light black. It was a big disaster.
Wow.
And anywho, I don't want to infer that I didn't believe you because I did. But even with believing you, it's impossible to imagine what that experience is like. You have to really experience it. I
It's worth buying a ticket even to just stay 5 minutes just to understand what it is like. It is so bizarre.
It really is something. But ding, 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 while we're on the topic, we went to the movie in Atlanta. We went to the movies.
Oh.
There was an iPic right by the hotel,
Right.
which I love the iPic.
Yeah.
And we saw Cocaine Bear. And I didn't really know anything about Cocaine Bear, other than the title and
Did
stuff.
you know Elizabeth Banks directed it?
By the time I sat down, I did, but the artwork and stuff, I didn't know that.
Okay.
This movie is fucking tremendous. It is a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
It is incredible. I'm so happy for her.
Wow.
It is such a triumph in every single way. It's like a horror gore movie with a bear. It's so funny. It's insane. And and gory and scary and pop-outy, and it is incredible.
Fun.
Couldn't believe how fucking great it was.
Good.
Screaming, laughing.
Oh, I love that.
Thank God I wasn't getting bounced around during all of it.
Do
Because
not.
that could have ruined it.
Maybe don't see that in 4D.
No, go see Cocaine Bear, though. It is brilliant.
That's awesome.
I want you to watch it so bad.
I will.
Oh, we're going to have a viewing. We're going to get our hands on it.
Oh, cool.
We want everyone to see it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I saw Navalny.
Yes.
Which is on HBO Max, if anyone has yet to see it, which I think a lot of people have seen it, especially now since it won the Oscar. It was so good, so well done.
It's incredible.
So fucking, I saw it in DC on Friday night. And if you don't know, and I'm sure you do, but it's the Russian opposition leader who was poisoned by Putin and then
regroups in Germany or Switzerland or somewhere. Germany.
Yep.
And fucking re-enters the country.
I know.
Putin's number
but also
one enemy.
catches them by like prank calling them basically.
Yes.
And then decides to re-enter the country and has been in prison ever since.
He is, I can't believe there's really a human on earth that is him. The integrity of him and the willingness to fight.
It's incredible. It really is incredible. Truly.
Oh, God.
And
he's so attractive, too.
He is.
Did you not find yourself like so attracted to him?
Yes.
Yeah, he's just a babe.
You know, he's doing the right thing. And of course I thought of you because I thought, oh, Dax probably wishes he could do this. Leave and then get poisoned, but then be the victor and then re-enter, even though everyone's like, Daddy, no. No, but even the daughter did not say daddy, no. That also was so sad and sweet. She was like, no, he needs to do that. And it's the right thing. God, I'd be so mad at my dad.
Yeah, she's donating him
to
history, to the cause. Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Oh.
And they're such a beautiful family.
Oh, when the wife and him are getting pulled away. It is so intense.
It is.
So good. The documentarian did such a good job.
Yeah.
But also, I saw it in DC and I really felt sort of moved by that. Like, oh, wow, we have so many problems in this country. We're so polarized. There's so many issues, but we don't have this. And
we're not poisoning opposition.
Thank God.
Yeah.
It really made me grateful.
Me too. Yeah, a lot of the things can feel trivial. It's like when the press is so routinely attacked, and I'm a part of that. I have many issues with modern day press. Yeah. Even New York Times, I don't like how they necessarily reported relative to the rest of the world their coverage of COVID. Mm-hmm. It was 78% of some astronomical number were negative, whereas in the world community it was 50-50. That bothers me. You know, I expect the New York Times to reflect the World Health Organization and the rest of the world's reporting. That bums me out. But all that to say, God doesn't need to be safeguarded and protected because it's really the only way that we don't end up with some despot that can fucking poison people. Yeah. That's who catches them is the press.
Yeah. Then that's what happened here too.
Great doc. Good recommendation.
Just watch it.
Watch it and then go see Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
And then go watch The Whale. That's what we watched.
Oh, wow. That's an experience.
Yeah. Okay. I do have some facts. And one of them is really important. Okay? Really important. You said accidentally Margaret E. Muir. And then we were like, I must have just said that. Who's that? Yeah. And we were like, maybe she is related to John Muir or something. And then we were laughing, blah, blah, blah. I found on Twitter Muir Middle School. Muir Middle School, that's where you went, right?
Yes.
This is the Muir Middle School account.
Oh, their own Twitter account?
Their Twitter account.
Oh, my God. That's great.
There's a picture of an elderly lady.
Uh-huh.
And it says Margaret Muir.
Look at
a lifelong Milford resident. Taught for 52 years in HVS. I don't know what that means.
Heating and cooling.
No.
HVAC.
HVAC.
Valley Schools.
Okay.
There we go. Wow.
She was 107 when she passed away in 2003.
Oh, my God.
So you were talking about this lady.
Oh, my God. They named it after a local woman. I love it.
I thought you said it was named after John Muir.
No, I said it's named after, my school's named after Margaret E. Muir.
Wait, but when we were talking during this, there was a whole discrepancy about John Muir.
Yeah, because I said, named after, she said something Muir. She went to something Muir.
Yeah.
And I said, named after Margaret E. Muir. And she said, Margaret E. Muir? No.
Yeah, she said John Muir. Yeah.
And then I was like, who is
Why do I
Margaret
know
E.
that?
Muir? It's because my school was named that.
Okay, I thought you said, oh, wow. Okay. That was confusing. But all right, her.
Okay, great. So I didn't imagine that my school
She was
was
a
named.
lifelong Milford resident.
That's wild. We should have named our daughters Margaret E. Muir. Whoa.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh,
anyway,
wow.
just on Twitter.
Oh, my God. There you go.
Yeah.
That's a big victory for Twitter and Elon Musk. You know, we give them a lot of shade.
We don't.
But
That's not Elon Musk's feather.
yeah.
Okay. So Metallica, James Hetfield.
Yeah. Muir Woods.
Right. He turned up over 1,000 acres of land as open space that will end up with the Marin Agricultural Land Trust after the county board of supervisors signed off on the deal Tuesday. This was in 2018.
Oh, he donated a bunch of his land?
Yes.
Well, that's big of him.
Yeah. Because you were saying he lived in the woods.
Like in the redwoods, yeah.
He turned over that.
Oh, wow.
Further the mission of preserving Marin's farmland. Marin's farmland. Excuse me. That's embarrassing.
Mark Maron's farmland.
Johns. The reason his name is Johns.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Is because he's named for his great-grandmother, Margaret Johns, the daughter of Richard Johns.
Oh, God.
Johns, that's why.
I don't like it, even though that I now know the etymology
Now
of
you
it.
know.
I don't like it. Johns.
Okay. Also, qualities of physical beauty, according to Wikipedia, but according to studies.
I do like, really quick, though, I do like Mike's. Jersey Mike's.
Sure. But that's...
Possessive.
Yeah.
But we can pretend it's plural.
Okay.
Yeah.
We
Jersey
do say
Mike's.
that's what we say.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we said?
I can't remember what we said.
We love Mike's.
We love Mike's. Jersey Mike's.
We do. I haven't had it in a while.
It's about all the Mike's in New Jersey. Jersey
Yeah.
Mike's.
Jersey's Mike's.
Jersey's Mike's.
Yeah.
Okay.
8 pillars of beauty.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
Youthfulness, not boding well for us since we can't do 4D anymore. Symmetry,
Oh, sure. The golden rule.
averageness. That's confusing. Sex hormone markers,
Oh.
body odor,
Oh.
motion,
Oh.
skin complexion, and hair texture.
Boing. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Bring.
So, but although this says some physical features are attractive in both men and women, particularly bodily and facial symmetry, although one contrary report suggests that, quote, absolute flawlessness with perfect symmetry can be disturbing.
But I keep hearing about the golden ratio. Something about the ratio where your nose is to your forehead.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like proportional.
I have the most asymmetrical face.
No, you
'Cause
don't.
Yes, listen, this is objectively true. I was breached. So when I came out, if I showed you pictures of me as a baby, I look like an eggplant. My mother will tell you that. One side of my face is completely pinched like this because my face was jammed into the pelvis.
Sure.
And I came out and I think they thought I was going to like really have a tough road ahead.
Yeah.
Fixed itself largely, but that's why my nostrils are totally asymmetrical. And when I smile, one side goes way up and the other one's out. This is all a result of being squished. Yes.
Right.
Because when I look at Lincoln's face, I go, oh, that's what my face would have looked like if I weren't born breech. She doesn't have any of the asymmetrical things I have.
Interesting.
The heterogeneity in my face.
And you don't think your face, like most people's faces don't, like, how do I
Tell
say
me about
this?
most people's faces.
They don't stay the same as when they were a baby. Things get like,
Yeah,
they change and evolve, and because your face is really malleable as a baby.
But if one side of the face is 3 times bigger than the other side, sure, it's going to lessen over time, but you're not going to make up that. Look how different shaped my nostrils are. This is very rare.
It's not rare. Most people don't have symmetrical faces. That's why it's considered a sign
That's
of
why I'm
high
growing this
beauty.
mustache out so you can't see my nostrils.
Because you want to be an OB.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what you
Dr. Womb Broom.
Okay. Symmetry may be evolutionarily beneficial as a sign of health because asymmetry signals past illness or injury. I guess sort of what you're saying.
Yes. People
Wow.
knew I was upside down in the womb.
One
room.
study suggested people were able to gauge beauty at a subliminal level by seeing only a glimpse of a picture for 1/100th of a second. Wow.
Yeah, we're good at it.
Vivid color in the eyes and hair.
Well, think about it this way, too. Remember, I don't forget who we had on, but we're talking about the mirror image of the body internally.
Mm-hmm.
Like your insides are kind of a mirror image. And in fact, that's what's really curious about cancer doesn't ever end up in the spleen, was it? But if you look at the liver, which is the opposite
That was
organ that's the
Siddhartha's
same,
episode.
it's weirdly...
Yeah. Has
So
a lot of cancer.
I think if your face isn't symmetrical, reasonable to believe that inside your organs have grown asymmetrically
wow.
too. Like I can see
It's
where
representative.
evolutionarily it's a signal that things didn't grow in a mirror image of each other.
Interesting. I mean, yeah.
Your face is totally symmetrical. It's homogeneous.
Thank you.
Look at
I
me.
disagree, but I
Hold
have
still.
been told that. I don't want to. I'm going to keep talking.
No, hold dead still. I don't know which side is which. If I drew a line in the middle, you could not tell.
I have been told that, which is very complimentary. The problem with my face is.
Can't wait to hear from your point of view what the problem
No,
is.
really. And I have to go.
Yeah.
If you take the individual pieces,
Mm-hmm.
like if you're just looking at symmetry, it's like, oh, it's pretty symmetrical. If you just look at like my eyes, they're okay. My lips are okay. Like if you look individually.
No
But
one's
for
going to use the
some
word you just
reason,
used, but go ahead.
The way it all got thrown at my face,
Mm.
it didn't work out.
Okay, that's
I mean,
that's
it's
your
just,
take on it.
It's weird if you isolate.
You're saying your face is less than the sum of its parts.
Yes, actually, yes.
Okay, I disagree with you.
And I'll look at other people's faces often.
Yeah.
And I think,
That's
wow.
a mess individually, but
Honestly, yes.
yeah, but
not,
collectively, that's it's like a Picasso.
Not a mess, but I look individually at the features and I think, okay, I mean, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's fine.
Fine, but yeah. it adds up.
Average. And then somehow together, it's like perfect looking.
Yeah.
So I find that extremely unfair. And the reason for my hard work and success.
Rob and I are grateful that you have this body dysmorphia and warped view of yourself because you'd probably suck at this job if you thought otherwise.
I feel upset because we have to go. I have to go
Yeah.
get my pap smear.
Yeah. Your vagina's burning a hole in your pants. I can't wait to get to this mustachioed man. You know, Carrie was really horny. I told you this before. I don't think she
was
would
horny
mind.
during pap smears.
Well, I don't think she'd mind me saying this, but she thought her gynecologist was so hot when we were.
Oh my god,
when
that's
we were
a
young,
disaster.
That's a disaster.
Yeah, because was she like
Dang.
wet? Yeah.
Wet.
I mean, that's scary.
Or flattering to the doctor.
No, I don't think they're supposed
No
to
man
be
is going to be
flattered.
upset.
No, we don't like that. We
Okay.
want our gynecologist to not have.
Not her. She wanted her gynecologist to get on top of her. I hate to tell you.
Oh, did they ever have sex?
No, but I thought this was. I found it to be very erotic that she had this fantasy about this guy.
It's not though. It's
Not
so
if you
clinical.
don't want that. It's terrible.
Yeah.
No medical professional
Oh
should ever.
my
Okay,
God.
I'm being clear about that. But she was horny for him.
Yeah.
And in that case, for her, I'm like, how sexy for her.
I do have a friend who has a hot doctor, and I do think about that. Like, I would never want to see him as my doctor.
Because he would make you nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pap smear
You
every
went
3
in there
months.
And you're like, my farts have stunk for 3 months.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know. Right. Like you could never go in there and go, something's weird. My farts have been smelling really weird for 3 months. You would never tell your hot doctor that.
Never.
You just go there to report to him like, just wanted to pop in. I lost 6 pounds.
But I'd have to get like a wax or like I'd have to like everything would need to be perfectly manicured before I went in for the like it'd just be a lot of red tape before I went in there.
But you could, it's how you frame it. You could feel like, I'm getting ready for a date. Could feel fun. Like, oh, he's going
You're
to
right.
love. Yeah, you're wearing like super crazy lingerie to get your mammogram. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, leave it out.
Oh, shit.
You got stockings on still.
Stockings. Oh my God.
Garter belt.
Oh,
Your
wow.
Benny Hill sketch from the 80s.
Okay, well, this was fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear a report on the doctor.
On the PAP?
Yeah, on the PAP updates.
Okay.
All right,
All
love
right,
you.
love you.
Post results on social.